This is Nan McKay, and I would like to introduce you today to Oleksandr Brotsman, sometimes called Alex.
That's correct.
And Alex is the food and beverage manager on the Azamara Quest cruise ship. And we are going today to France. And we started in Southampton, and we're going to France, we're going to Spain,
Portugal.
and we're also going to Portugal. So we've got really a fascinating cruise.
It is a beautiful cruise, yeah.
And beautiful one. And it's called the Wine and Culture Cruise. And that's because perhaps there's a little wine along the way.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to Bordeaux. It's a place all about wine.
Now, Alex, you have worked your way up through many cruise lines and many positions on the ships over time. So I'm really interested in all the sailing you've done. You've been around the world, I'm sure, many times, correct?
Correct.
And let's find out more about what led him really into this career and what he sees for the future. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you. And welcome on board for you as well.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Now, you grew up in the Black Sea in Ukraine.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I was born in Ukraine, in a small city next to Odessa. We're familiar with Black Sea coast. It's a city about 80 kilometers from Odessa, main port. But it's been a small city, it's still one of the biggest ports on the Black Sea. The name's Ackerman. This city has a very strong tradition dating back to the past about sea, working on the ships, fishing, and so on. So obviously, living in the city, seeing the ships every day, going to the port every day, kind of my dream was set to whom to be.
From what age?
I think I would say maybe 14, yeah. I was already knew who I want to be. Yeah.
Did you watch those ships come in and out?
All the time, because especially my first place when I grew up was really close to the port. So I could see the ship passing by to the window every single day, yeah.
That's exciting.
And that's amazing. I mean, the ships are beautiful. Ships have the soul, you know. Every single ship is different, yeah.
So what really most influenced your decision to sail?
Traveling. I was born in Soviet Union. Soviet Union at the time was a really close country. Not everyone was able to leave the country to see the world. They heard there are some countries exist around the Soviet Union, but they never had the chance to go there. So to work on the ship, that was one of the opportunities to see the world, to see the people, in other cultures, So that's the thing. It was the biggest actually trigger for me to become a sailor.
Were you surprised in the beginning at what you saw?
Absolutely. I mean, to see different people, to hear different languages, it was amazing. It was amazing.
And see how people dressed and how people talked.
Absolutely. As I say, as a Soviet Union country, it was quite, close country with very different tradition, very different way how the people dressed. So when you go to my first country actually was Egypt, which I visited, and I was already surprised. It's completely different culture, so I was fascinated. Yeah.
So were you living in Russia at that point or in Ukraine?
In Ukraine, I live in Ukraine. Yeah.
And was Ukraine then part of Russia at that point?
Ukraine was never part of Russia. Ukraine was part of Soviet Union. Yeah. Russia was a part of Soviet Union as well. So Ukraine, one of the second biggest republic of Soviet Union. Yeah.
I see. So you qualified with honors from nautical school.
Correct, yeah.
And then you pursued your education at the Odessa State Academy of Food Technologies. That's a lot of words.
Yeah.
But you had a degree in manufacturing engineering, was that what it was called?
Correct, yeah.
Now, how does that relate to food and beverage?
Okay, there is no direct connection between my specialty and the university academy, but it's all about food as well. My specialty of this university was food preservation and extension of the shelf lives of the food. Yeah, so basically we learned how to produce and how to store canned food. Yes, it has no connection with my position now, but again, I never planned to be a food and beverage manager at that time. Yeah.
Well, in a way it does, because when you're out on the sea, you do have to store food.
Absolutely.
So I can see where it would have come into the whole realm. So tell us about some of your early positions on cruise lines, because you didn't start as food and beverage manager. You started in a place, where on the ship?
Okay, my very, very first contract, I started as a sailor on the cargo ship. Yeah. Because as I said, as a kid, watching the ship passing by, I never seen the cruise ship at the time. Because in the small port, the cruise ship never came in. So I saw only cargo ships. So my dream was to work on the ship. Not particularly have position in my head to whom I will be. So I decided to start as a sailor. So working as a sailor on the first cargo ship, I was going home from Egypt to Ukraine, passing the Bosphorus. And that's the first time when I saw the beautiful cruise ship docked in Istanbul.
And you were like,
yeah, I was like, wow. So my dream was set. I want to go there. Again, the time was not much hiring partners in Ukraine who actually hiring for the cruise ship, but I found one. There was not much options that time as well. So the only option was a cleaner. So I said, whatever. I just want to work on the cruise ship. So I was hired as a cleaner. It was my first contract on SSG, Royal Caribbean International, and became a cleaner there. In one contract, I got promotion. I became a cleaner supervisor. Next contract, I became the facility supervisor. And slowly, I get there up to housekeeping supervisor. So it was really a nice experience, completely not connected to the food. All right, I was just exploring ships, exploring the ship's life, exploring myself, trying to find myself, what I like. Working in housekeeping, of course, obviously we were close to restaurant department, and I really fell in love in this operation. Dining room operation, buffets, it was really amazing, especially the size of the ship. It's a big ships, yeah. So I decided to change position. So I again went back home. I found a different hiring partner, and then this time I applied for food and beverage position, not the manager, but in the food and beverage department. The time was opening for the assistant waiter, so I started again from the scratch. Came as assistant waiter on the ship. That time it was a Princess Cruise Line. So on the Princess Cruise Line, I completed 2 contracts and left the company already as a waiter, and I still was not happy with the ship. It was big, it was beautiful, but something was missing. So I went back to home, again talking to my friends, because I already got so many friends working on the ship as well. And Azamara at the time was 2007, just came up as a company. It was only one ship, Azamara Journey. I was very wondering about this, so I applied. I passed several interviews, and I joined in 2007 July Azamara Journey as a waiter. Many years ago. Yeah, and from the step 1, when I get into the ship, I was amazed. There is something in the air. So there is a spirit. There is a friendliness of crew. It's completely different. It's a small ship. It's a small amount of crew. It's just only 400 crew. Compared with Royal, when I used to work with 2,000 crew, it's very different. If you're not numbered, you're something. If they know your name, they greet you. It's very difficult to explain. So I fell in love. From the day number 1. And since then, I'm in Azamara. Starting as a waiter, as I said, slowly moving to head waiter, being in charge of the one venue. Then a couple of years after, I became a introduced specialty, in charge of the 2 specialty restaurants, Aqualina and Primacy, our steakhouse and Italian restaurant. A few years later, I became the restaurant manager. I ran a whole dining room operation on the Azamara Journey. And during the pandemic.
So you went home to Ukraine during COVID, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
And then what were you thinking when you were at home?
I mean, first of all, when I went home right before pandemic. I went home in January. We didn't hear really much about the pandemic yet, about the COVID and so on. So it was my regular vacation. So when the first news started to come up about the COVID, about people getting sick, I still was not so much worried about it, But then suddenly, towards middle of March, when the cruise industry started to shut down, it was really big concern. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? It seemed like end of the world. And then I understood it will take some time. So I started to look for the job on the shore side. It was not easy because during the pandemic, during the COVID, the most affected industry was food and beverage. All restaurants was shut down, everything was closed. So I tried to find a job. It was not easy. In the end of I tried many positions. I was a taxi driver for some time, but it's not the same. It's a completely different culture. It's very different. When the pandemic kind of slowing down, people get used to it. When the vaccine appear on the market, restaurants slowly start to open. I got offered to open one restaurant in Odessa. I took this offer and opened a very fancy restaurant on the coast. It was a beautiful restaurant, I have to say, with beautiful menu. But as soon as started operation, as soon as started to get our first guest, I got a call from Azamara, we need you back. And I didn't think of it a second. I said, yes, I'm going there.
Okay.
I'm going there, and I left restaurant. I have so many apologies because owner of the restaurant, he had a lot of expectation, and I helped him a lot, and he really respected so much for his for my help. But my heart belonged to the ship, so I went back. Yeah.
You know what I love about your story is that you're a great role model and example for people who might want to do something like this. And the point is, you can't start at the top. You have to work your way up. And the advantage of doing that in your position now is that you did all these things so everybody respects you more because they know you did the job. Aren't you getting some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very agree with you. Knowing ship and operation from the bottom all the way to the up is very important. It's of course you can get education, you can get position, come on board right on the top. You might run a good business as well, but still, when the people know that you went through the same position there right now there and they have the same opportunity as you had the time, they look at you very differently. And and you motivate people as well. Because when I'm talking to my crew, I told them, look, I never came here as a F&B manager. I came here as a waiter. And it's give them a chance to think, they can do as well.
This is something I could do.
Yeah.
I could work my way up and I could do the same thing.
Yeah.
And that gives them the inspiration and
Correct.
the motivation to keep doing what they're doing. The other thing from a managerial point of view is how long it takes to do the job because you did it yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if somebody is too slow or somebody's too fast and maybe careless, all those, the whole realm of supervision, you understand it because you said, I've been there, I've done that.
Correct, yeah.
And people then, do they feel that you're going to be more fair because
Absolutely,
of that?
because I know the nature of the job. I understand them as well. It's somebody, if something doesn't go right way or something goes different direction, I know why. I know there was a nature or the root of the situation. So it's very easy to sort it out, reason of, let's say, delays or, I don't know, not right execution. So you know how to correct. Because we have a lot of crew coming on board, brand new crew who never work on the ship. So for them it's new. For me, of course, it's like, I knew this, I've done it. Yeah. So you teach them, you show them how to do it, and because it's based on your own experience, you know how to do it. Yeah.
And is it easier to have the effect on the staff when you're on a smaller ship? Because the numbers are less. I would think it would be a little easier to have your control, to have them do it the right way, to teach them. Is that true or not?
No, I can't say it's easier. It might seem like a smaller shipless job. No, it's not. It's a lot of work to do. It's a lot lot of people to meet, to work, to teach. The only difference that you're close to each other. Working on the big ship, as a crew member, your number. You have your number, and this is, you have no name even. When the restaurant has 200 waiters, and the restaurant manager talk to the waiters with microphone, because the last row couldn't hear him, it's different. And here, when they're all sitting close to each other, know each other by name, know their history, know their families, it's very different. It makes this family feelings.
The whole family, and I think that's what makes Azamara very different from so many of the other cruise lines. I've sailed many cruise lines as well, and this is certainly a special brand. There's no question about it.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about food and beverage manager. Tell me what that is. I'm kind of envisioning, I'm thinking, okay, that must mean restaurants and bars. And I don't know, you mentioned that you worked in the specialty restaurants, so that may take a different manager. Tell me what the breadth and depth of this is.
Okay, as a F&B manager here on Azamara Quest, in all our ships, Azamara fleet, F&B manager in charge of 5 restaurants, plus 2 messes, crew mess, staff mess. We have 10 bars, guest bars, plus 1 crew bar. We have 4 galleys, plus 1 for the crew. And we have utility team, it's all dishwashing operation. So you, as a manager, supervise whole F&B operation, starting from food storing, all the way to the galley, and then all the way to the guest table. And it applies for the guests and for the crew. So everything from storing, cooking, serving, and then waste.
Disposing of the waste.
Of the waste, yeah, sorry.
So, does that mean that you also say you want so many cans of this and so many pounds of this meat? Do you do all that, or is that done by Florida?
No, I don't do this calculation. To be honest, it's done by a chef and inventory manager, working together close to Miami. Yeah, chef knows exactly, has the menus, so he knows exactly what ingredients he will need and how much of this. In contact with inventory manager and inventory manager, placing this in the ordering schedule, and then that's how the way it works. Again, when you have some issue, let's say some products we didn't receive, happens. Nowadays there are many things can happen, so we need to source them locally. That's what we do together with inventory manager and chef together, sourcing them out locally in ports of call, and so on.
And do you actually go visit them?
Yes, we go in there. We're meeting the suppliers. We're meeting the vendors. We have a lot of meetings.
And then I've seen them bring big, huge bales to the ship of food and canned goods and all those things. So do you supervise it from the dock to the ship?
Yeah, and then of course it's us. It's myself, chef, and inventory. We need to check the quality of the products. Sometimes we get some, let's say, greens. They're not fresh. They're not good to be served in good quality. So we deny them. We can't take them. Because we want to provide the excellent product to our guests. So we can't just take it.
Well, it's good that you're being really conscientious about that.
And you mentioned about the specialty restaurants. So the specialty restaurants supervised by Maitre d' specialty. It's the assistant restaurant manager. So restaurant manager has 2 assistants. One in charge of the specialty restaurants and the Windows Cafe, and second assistant in charge of the main dining room and the crew mess operation as well.
So a place like the patio would be under you because that's not a separate manager.
It's under me as well, but there is a manager, which is a Maitre d' specialty, who is directly in charge of this place.
I see. Now you have an event that Azamara calls the White Night.
That's a beautiful one. Yeah.
And I have attended many of these. Tell me, what's your role in that? What do you have to do specially to prepare for something like that?
I would say it's not the main role, but it's one of the biggest role of F&B department in this event which called White Night. It's a beautiful event. That's what Azamara known about it, and many guests, they're already going first time on board of Azamara. They have the white dresses, because they know there is a big party called White Night. I have to be there. So as a F&B department, first of all, what we do, we convert entire pool deck to the dining menu. It's done by wait staff. Removing all these lounges to put the dining tables, set them up, glasses, silver, to make it really beautiful. All decoration done by, again, restaurant department. Galley department, this time, they're making food. They made a beautiful buffet and in the patio area with a lot of local stuff, because our main aim is to bring more destination dishes on board. And the White Night usually happens on the overnight or when abroad when you stay quite long. So you have a chance to introduce local culture to our guests. And that's what our chef's doing. Besides our regular menu on the White Night, they bring a lot of local stuff, local dishes in.
Now there's different venues. It looks like venue locations. I was on a ship in Cuba, and the White Night was all outside by the pool area, I think.
Correct, yeah.
And then, and there were stations. There was a carving station for prime rib and a carving and shrimp and beautiful layouts throughout. Then I was on a ship this month in Iceland. And of course, we are not going to be outside on the pool deck. So you have to accommodate for different places where you are and the weather and the locations. In fact, you don't even set the white night in the beginning until you are sure the weather's going to be okay.
That's correct. You know, the white night it's a big event, and we want to every single guest to enjoy this event. So we so much look into the weather forecast, starting already from cruise before when we're gonna schedule this day. Of course, if like now in like this cruise, if you're in Europe, in Spain, it's easier. Spain, and most of the days sun. It's beautiful. UK area, Ireland area is challenging. Weather change hourly. Yeah. So sometimes the cruise started, we don't know yet. We're still checking the weather. Yeah. Sometimes weather doesn't cooperate with us, so we have to do it indoor. So we call it white night, but mostly we serve the food in the Windows Cafe, and show will take place in the cabaret or living room. Yeah, it's not the same, but still it brings some ambience. Yeah. Because food means a lot.
It does.
Good food
It
means
does.
a lot. Yeah,
And the presentation
absolutely.
is really important. So in your position, what are some of the big challenges that you face?
I think the biggest challenge what I could face, you know, we're getting a crew all over the world from different countries, you know, from different ships. There is no school on board. So the person comes on board and we teach the person from the day number one, from the minute number one, you know, to bring them to the same mindset as our crew has. That's what Azamara knows as well about our crew. But if you look into it, the crew comes from different company. I came from different company here. I have a completely different standards to follow before. And I came here, and here completely different. So this mindset we need to make with no time. And that's a big challenge. Of course, if person understand is not his place, he will leave. But person who is flexible, adjustable, and he wants to be adjusted to our Azamara spirit, will make it.
How do you deal with all the different languages where people are coming from? Philippines, India, I think. Where do you get a lot of the people?
We have
from Beverage?
47 nationalities on board.
Wow.
Yeah, in Western, I would say the majority, yes, it's Filipino crew members, Indian crew members, majority. But we do have from many countries. We have, as I say, from Ukraine, we have from Bulgaria, from Serbia, a lot, yeah.
And how do you deal with the languages, the different languages?
Official language of Azamara is English. So all crew
Okay.
have to speak English in all areas.
Okay.
Yeah, in the crew bar, in the private places, in the cabin, they can speak their native language, and nobody has against this. But we always advise our crew members to try to speak even with their country people English in order to practice, to improve the language, because most our customers are English-speaking customers. So we need to speak English, we need to understand this language as well.
You know, you talked about also being in charge of the staff meals.
Correct.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But that's just as important, really,
It
as
is.
all
It
the
is.
rest.
It is. We have two messes. One called officer mess and the staff mess. It's called different, but there is no separation. The crew members can go in officer staff, officer mess. Officer can go in the crew mess. So they feel free. The only difference that crew mess will be more Oriental food, and the staff mess will be more European food. So up to your liking, which food you prefer, you go on any messes. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, the other thing you mentioned, you just alluded to, and I know that it's different, but people may not realize this. You talked about contracts. So tell us a little bit about how that works. I mean, we're used to you work for a company, but you don't work necessarily 12 months, do you? Straight through?
No, we don't work straight through. Length of the contract depending on the position. So we have different contracts on board. You have 3, 4, 6, 8 months. So depending on the position. In the F&B department, most of the contracts is 6 months. So any waiter, assistant waiter, cook, they work on the ship 6 months with 2 months vacation. As soon as they get hired, they sign the contract for 6 months, and that's how much time they spend on board. Unless they want to extend, there is a possibility, of course, to extend or to go home earlier. Things can happen, There's always the company is open to this. Yeah.
And so you do a contract with Azamara, correct?
Mhm. Correct, yeah. I do contract with Azamara. I finish my contract. I'm going for vacation with contract for the next time. So after vacation, I know where I'm going and for how long. Yeah.
That seems like a good system.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What would you say in all the years that you've been doing this? Now, how long totally have you been doing this?
With Azamara, I'm 15 years, and totally my experience at sea about 22 years. Never count, but I think it's like 22. Yeah.
With all that time, what would you say is really a significant moment that you've had?
It just, I would say meeting people. I do, the biggest part of our job is working with people, with humans. And it's really not everybody can do. To work with people is not easy. But I'm really enjoying to meeting people from different countries, with different cultures, to talk to them about how they live, how the things happening in their countries. It's really interesting. I really enjoy it so much.
Thinking about, let's say, a young person who would love to be able to do what you're doing, what advice would you have?
As a young person, you know what? If I would be born one more time, I would go back on the ship. I love ships. The thing is, you need to understand what you want from your life. If you want, to work on the ship is not easy. It's hard to be far from your family for a long time, to go through this rough seas. Again, working with the people is not easy. So if you're ready for it, just take it, just grab it, go. There's a lot of opportunities to grow. There's a lot of positions. You have a restaurant, you have a galley, you have a guest relation, you have a fitness instructors, spas. I mean, there's a lot of options. And doing the job, getting money, you're traveling, you see the world. Like now we're going to Japan in a couple of months. Would be able to go to Japan by my own? It's quite expensive, but the company gives you this opportunity. Go have a look at Japan, enjoy. It's beautiful. Our sister ship Quest going to Brazil. If I would plan to travel again on my own, I would think twice to go to Brazil. It's expensive, but the company gives you this opportunity. So, if you're ready to travel, make sure you speak English. Not necessarily at the beginning, not necessarily to speak like pretty good English. Yeah, you'll learn on board, as all of us did, and travel.
This has been so interesting talking with you. Thinking about the many times you've been around the world and what you're seeing in the world now, what would you wish for the world?
Peace. Peace. Besides what's happening in the world, there are a lot of conflicts in different countries. For us as a cruise industry, to travel the world, to show new places to our guests, we need a peace in the world. Azamara scheduled several times, not only Azamara, many cruise lines scheduled many times call of port of Odessa, my home. Unfortunately, from 2014, due to the situation, no one single ship can go there. It's a beautiful place, and I hope very soon the all cruise lines will come back there and to show my city to port.
It would be wonderful.
Yeah, I hope so.
You have been so much fun to talk with,
Thank you so much.
And such a good inspiration for younger people or older people that decide, what else do I want to do with my life? And you've shown this is really a good option.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I'm happy I can share my life with the rest of the world.
And you
Thank
did.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.